Welcome back to Built to Ship, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with founders and product leaders, shipping real AI products into the world. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Steven, founder of NexTrial.ai. They're a platform that uses AI to orchestrate clinical trial activation. They slash activation time from 90 to 45 days and bring regulatory-ready workflows to global trial networks. Steven, it's great to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here, Tyler.
And we were just chatting before we jumped on. You're out there in Brazil and right by the beach, so I'm pretty jealous. Tell me a bit about your founding story. What were you doing before NexTrial? What brought you to Brazil? I know you said you're originally from LA, like me. And why did you start to build NexTrial? What was the problem you saw in the market?
Yeah, so I've spent my career inside of the engine rooms of global transformations, Takeda, Biogen, American Airlines, Archer Daniel Midlands, different industries, different stakes, but the same pattern, kept hitting me in the face, right? Clinical trials were falling at the exact same point at activation. Didn't matter, if the team was world-class, the protocol was clean, didn't matter if the budgets were ready or the timelines were ambitious, right? There was activation drift. Documents and revisions and regulatory confusion, rework, inconsistent interpretation, after that 120 days, right? Every single time. So, what brought me down to Brazil was, working at in global transformation. I came down for a GRC, governance, risk, and compliance implementation for a global mining company. And the project got put on hold because in America, and so the South American got put on hold, and Carnival was the next week. So I fell in love, ran away, and never went home. 3 daughters later, and I love it. So I've spent the time down here working in agri-tech and one of some of the largest startups down here as well. New Bank helped to scale their team from 700 to 10,000 and in their general application and operational efficiencies.
Amazing. It's one of the benefits of being a founder. There's a lot of pros and cons. One of them is you get to choose where you build. And so it's great that you're able to find a place that, you can raise a family and also, to have that founder lifestyle where you're eating glass every day, building a new business. But it's also great to hear. I love when founders have experienced the pain themselves, or they've seen it at least in previous roles. That gives you a huge leg up, I'd say. Anyone can have an idea about, especially in the age of AI, let's automate this thing, but exactly what step of the process it's a pain. Like someone else could guess that maybe there's an issue in this industry and AI could help, but where do you actually focus your time? And not every piece of the process probably needs AI, and there's probably some that need it more than others. So super interested to hear more about how you're applying that experience, that firsthand experience, to what you're building. So tell us a little bit about who are the kinds of companies that NexTrial serves now? What's the shape of them, size, industry, and let's start there.
Yeah, so we are working with CROs, contract research organizations in the United States initially, and we work with sponsors, so large-scale pharmas and biotechs, small biotechs that have tight timelines and investment pressure from investors and VCs. We, based on our jurisdictional awareness, right, sites, patients, protocols for pharma, are global, and so what's the differentiator is the regulatory. So as we built our regulatory engine for deterministic training of our engine inside of the United States, we saw that was applicable global. So we immediately expanded to our zero rejection workshops and started working with the ethics and regulatory boards in India. And we are proving that point. We just validated our zero rejection workshop with the ICMR board and working with some major hospitals over there. So again, we like to really start with the sites, because the site is the successful entity in a trial. The site has the patients and the site's successful, the pharma is successful, so it goes faster. So we validate, we verify all of their documentation, their readiness, and then execute and give them execution intelligence to be able to deliver on those, right? We don't digitize old workflows, we delete the barrier to entry, and that's really the moment that NexTrial was born.
Amazing. And congrats on sort of those approvals, if I'm using the right term. I didn't work in a super highly regulated industry, but everything I know about it is like, that is a big challenge to do, there's so much process and paperwork, and that's awesome that you're kind of automating a lot of that, or removing it completely for your customers. When it comes to AI, was NexTrial founded before, ChatGPT came on the market and LLMs made a big splash, and you had to kind of realize, oh, this is a technology we should incorporate? Or were you founded, was that part of the spark of starting the business? Tell us a bit more about that journey.
Yeah, that was part of the spark, right? It became accessible. So I finished the project at the end of last year, in 2024, and I was doing kind of a fractional CTO for a CRO in Texas. And the problem arose, and AI was the solution. So, I applied AI and API semantic search to solve the problem of matching sites to trials and trials to sites. At which point I identified that, okay, that's easy, matching sites, right? This is what everybody does. So we got the attention of AstraZeneca to help us with, okay, what is the readiness mean to them? And we defined what that readiness intelligence. So now we're able to really activate and have a protocol to activate a site, operational, facilities, experience, all those, as well as regulatory, obviously, in order to really prove that site is validated, in order to move forward. Again, shrinking that timeline using AI to do verifications. And then from the regulatory perspective, using AI to reduce the preventable errors. So, 25% of all submissions for, I want to do the trial, is 25% are rejected because of preventable errors globally. And so this was another easy win for us. And at that point, we started to look at, the explainability because of that regulatory predictive patient eligibility, and having to make sure that we had that explainability. And using, large language models, we weren't able to at weight 1.0. So this is when we then spawned, in our beta 3 environment, we spawned our Selena Foundation model using LoRa adapters to do self-training.
Wow, that's awesome. And when it came to that, one of the things you mentioned was something like a 25% error rate that was avoidable. I might be getting that number wrong, but was that something where like AI is helping because of the intelligence it has, or the access to research and being able to like go look things up on the internet? Like, was it more of the intelligence side or the automation because it was just too expensive from the human side to handle dealing with those errors? Tell us a bit more about like why AI was a fit for solving that, or your business in general.
Yeah, so it's assembling all of the documents, right? It's kind of swivel chair type of a thing that coordinators and a lot of burnout happens. Grabbing a lot of documents, assembling these documents and submitting them, verifying, that the equipment was calibrated, that they had enough items in their hospital, there are enough beds, enough patients. All of those things were done manually, and still a lot of times are doing manual. So again, AI can do prediction and verification, and grab the data, assemble that data, and provide verifiable licenses, expirations, OCR of the equipment. Oh, that's model X. It was calibrated here. Seeing the size of the facility to give a sponsor that viewpoint, so they didn't have to actually go to the site again. 45 days more to schedule people to go to the site, where we could really streamline that and give them that readiness signal up front, so that way when they got to the site, It wasn't questions
Mm.
and okay, follow-ups and things like that. So we were able to package that all up. With the preventable errors, again, it's packaged very, very complex scenarios in India and in Brazil, where there's 3 different pathways, and it's assembling different documents, and a lot of them are the same, and sometimes they're a little bit nuanced for a specific form that has to be done. So we've built those kind of templates, inputs and outputs, and from our regulated environment, and regulated documents and protocols and site verification data, and then we basically just harmonize it all out. Again, it's all the same
Awesome.
data inputs, and it's just harmonized for the regulatory environments. And so those are the preventable errors. And what we do is it's 80% of the work that Selena does, our AI orchestration agent, and hands it to the coordinators or the principal investigators on a clinical trial to do the 20% of the 80% of the high value, which is ensure that, hey, we agree, this is verified.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm going to submit it. So they're the 100% human in the loop.
I love one of the things you were mentioning about like how you show up to the site and you kind of already have gone through the busy work. It sounds like one of my favorite things about AI tools that I enjoy, the ones that I enjoy, because there's a lot of bad ones too, is ones where it kind of flips the paradigm from, think of like old CRMs, where a lot of my job as someone using a CRM is to update data in the CRM and kind of upkeep hygiene. Now AI native tools are flipping the script. The AI handles the hygiene part. You're going into the tool what you originally went into it for, which is to sell, right? Or in this case, like, hey, they want to get trials going. We're moving them forward with that instead of, showing up to a site and starting with busy work. That is awesome. Okay, you alluded to something I really want to dig into. Sounds like you guys are doing a lot of advanced things. You mentioned OCR, you mentioned like auto retraining, things like that. Take me at like 100-foot view of your agent sort of strategy or architecture. Do you have you already alluded to this, but like, is it one agent orchestrating others? Do they have sets of tools? Give me the high level, and then I'd love to dig into like frameworks and technologies after that.
Yeah. So, our architecture clearly is Selena isn't a chatbot. She's a protocol aware, regulatory aware orchestration engine built on our Selena Foundation model, one. She's deterministic foundation model for clinical trials. And our core agents is Selena's the orchestrator. We have Eleanor, who is the regulatory intelligence. She's the one that handles the adapters and verifications. We have Athena, who does all the financial forecasting and verifies the financials. We're moving towards contract optimization. That's another item on the roadmap. And then we have we are working on those dynamic dashboard or dynamic signals, the 60-second summary of a site. So we have an AI agent named Nova who does that dynamic readiness summaries. We have parsing agents, who parse the protocols and chunk them into our vector database, packet ingestion, and then again, human in the loop. So humans are the number one. So we don't replace the coordinators or the team. We just remove the friction around them.
Amazing. Yeah, I love how you've broken them. It's always a challenge, I think, with building agentic systems of like, do I have one agent? Do I have, 5 agents? Do I have 20? Where do you break out the sub-agent system? And then it gets complex to orchestrate and manage them. It sounds like you even have an agent that's doing that orchestration. How have you technologically handled all of this? Did you build everything in-house? Do you use a framework like LangChain? Do you use tools like Hugging Face? Like, what can you share around even just philosophically, like what parts you want to build in-house versus where you use tools, whether they be open source or off-the-shelf solutions?
Yeah, we've done a couple of pivots and we've learned along the way. So we're in beta. Beta 3 is solid as a rock. We're moving towards beta 4 now, where we're really making it pretty. And we are 100% LangChain with LangSmith for explainability. We're using Llama Parse for the parsing. We're using a RAG stack with. We were with Pinecone, but now we are with ChromaDB for our vector. where we started on with Vercel, which really allowed us to get very, very fast and launch quickly. And then we transferred over to AWS Health, Native Health, that allowed us to go scale globally. And then of course, face outages when they go out. So that's where we're at. And then we co-create our return on investment with each of our beta partners. So, we select very carefully with clinical trials. It's not about volume, or it's really about trust. So while we select our CRO partners and our pharma biotech partners, hospitals and sites, we co-create what's the automation that's the most important, what's the high value items, so that provide the return on investment. So we have, we are a little bit fragmented with our AI. So we have a few of them that are outside, right? Our company is run by humans and AI. So each one of our teammates have, at least AI agents. If we're not doing all of our weekly summaries based on an AI code check-in, or we're not doing a full specification that is debated both by our AI, as personas, as well as our leads, and then turning that into an executable, because the spec is the product, right? So this is how we're orchestrated, and then we use a little bit of Lang graph as well. So
Awesome.
This is one of our items. We really need a Lang graph ops.
Yeah. Amazing. No, that's super helpful, and context for everyone watching, because believe it or not, you probably can believe this, but there's so many companies that haven't yet put anything into production. So like, you guys are actually like so far ahead with the fact that you're not only using them in your business as sort of assistants and co-pilots and helpers to your team, but also like it's part of your product. And like you mentioned, it does take a lot of different technologies. There's not just one solution out there that does everything. But now gets to my second question, which is something our audience has been really interested in recently. Okay, finally you have all these agents in production. You're having customers use them. They're doing well against your initial internal tests. How do you actually evaluate them in production? How do you keep, you're going to make a prompt change, or you're going to launch a new agent. Number one, you probably do some internal testing, right? And then it's in production, and your customers might use it in a different way than you expect. How do you get visibility into that? I know you mentioned Langsmith. I think that's probably part of the solution. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we are, so Langsmith, the logs, manual, we run the logs through our AI. We're doing bias testing. We're using AI for all of our bias and QA testing. We should and can do a lot more QA testing at our scale. We're also using post-hog as well. So we're monitoring and managing post-hog.
Love it. We use that too.
Yeah, that helps us get us. But as we're really refining our patient prediction eligibility engine, this is where, right, that full explainability has to come through. That's our differentiator, right? It has to be powerful, sponsor friendly. So that engine goes beyond our matching and our activation. It's really about, physics informed neural networks, and where we're modeling the trajectory, the tolerability, the physiology, and the behavioral dynamics, using that physics informed biological grounded constraints. So again, we're not just taking the patient data and matching against the eligibility and saying match. We're predicting who might qualify, who can tolerate the journey, and this is kind of that flex, right?
And those things you mentioned for that physics engine, you mentioned a few terms, like, again, I'll butcher them if I repeat them. Are those the actual metrics that like you have a score for each of those, and you're like, hey, they have to hit this threshold on this, and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, we've got, and we were just working on the final specification, because we're building it into a Docker to deploy, because, patient data and HIPAA compliance, right? We don't want any of that responsibility. And large academic networks and hospitals, they don't want to expose their data either. We don't want it. They don't want to expose it, but we need to figure out how to do that. So we're building the engine into a Docker file where we hand to the large networks and say, you deploy it, you run it. We just want the aggregate, right? And maintain the explainability, because the explainability is on them, not on us, right? So we give them those the keys to that castle.
Awesome. And sounds like you're doing a lot more than just like LLMs. Obviously, you're actually training. You're not just like using ChatGPT or OpenAI APIs alone. You're also training models. You're also doing OCR. Specifically for the LLMs, are there any agentic use cases where you're actually letting your users chat with an agent, or are these things happening in the background? Like you're powering a workflow behind the scenes with AI, but they just get the result, or are they talking directly to some of these agents to go through their workflows?
No, everything goes through Selena. Selena is the orchestrator. So they talk to Selena. Selena knows who you are, learns from your behavior, knows your profile, has your full context of, just like LLM, just like we're a native AI. So, full context, full document, archives, full persistent chat, memory. And then she learns and speaks to you and has a personality and hair flip. And she, and then she hands it off to her agents. Some agents go do a semantic search, comes back. When they're doing the chunking or protocol aware, it does go out to an LLM for some validation and making it harmonized into natural language, comes back, does another validation round and gives it to her. Then she does the presentation.
Awesome. And so when you're trying to evaluate whether she called the right subagent or whether she interpreted the user's query properly, obviously you can set up like tests in code that are like, did this tool call fail? Did the LLM stop responding? Did my API call fail? But people are saying it's a little bit harder in production to monitor, like, okay, yeah, she responded to the person, but like she was not as polite as we wanted, or she misinterpreted what they were saying and only I as a human noticed that. How do you track that? Or do you wait for customers to kind of like message you, hey, this was a weird interaction? Do you have any observability like through Langsmith, or how do you kind of keep track of that and evaluate these like more esoteric situations when it comes to agents in production?
Yeah, we ran through this, her personality and giving her a context window. So, she reacts in the same way. What was really funny though recently is we did a full security rotation, and that rotation of all of our secrets kind of broke a few things, like it's supposed to. We're in beta, and then we saw how she really kind of adapted and kept her personality, and she's constrained, so she knows what she can do and she knows what she can't do. We also another thing. So to answer your question, we're beta, so we're managing with our customers. We have weekly calls with the customers, and then we're monitoring it. We have a Slack channel dedicated for each of our customers, and we she has and we also do a full AI governance training. So nobody uses Selena until they know exactly who Selena is, what she can do, what she can't do, what's the use case, what is her card, as well as each of the cards and the persona cards. So when they get something back, she says, oh, I'm transferring it to the agent. Oh, I'm going to go do this one. I'm going to, so she talks to you and lets you know what she's doing. A little bit of thinking. We're not super heavy on thinking at the moment with streaming, but she does communicate that. But again, each of the users know exactly where the sources are and where her constraints are. And, so we have hard boundaries.
That's great. Yeah. And it's, I think what you shared is what I'm hearing from other leaders like you, that like, it's a mix of, for things like governance, maybe there's harder boundaries, but when it comes to like, hey, does our customer think this was a correct response? Did it solve their problem? Today, it's a lot of like being in Slack with them and being close to the customer, which is really good, which is the age old product feedback. Right. So that's great and super helpful for everyone listening. So awesome. Well, Stephen, I want to throw up your website real quick on the screen. tell me a bit more about like how people can follow along with NexTrial. How do they get in contact with you? And what are kind of the things they should do to self-evaluate if they're a good fit for NexTrial?
Yeah, no, I mean, if we're open up for any physician, any clinical research network, any hospital that wants to, join in and jump into clinical research as a revenue channel, B, to expand and provide more, availability to their patients, to the cures. So what we're trying to do is reduce the delays for a patient to a cure. So that's ultimately what we're doing. But yeah, NexTrial.ai, our LinkedIn, all of our social media is right there, and you can book a call directly off of the request
Awesome.
access, as well as if you're a physician in America, you can sign up directly on the right there with your NPI, and that will drive you right through the readiness survey. You'll be able to get your readiness survey immediately in 3 minutes, and then join in and see what type of revenue or trials you might fit for. And again, what we do is we do a full zero rejection workshop and readiness scoring with a revenue calculator. So based on your therapeutic area in your region and your patient population or demographics, just on a conversation, Athena, our financial AI, she can basically let you know how much your potential revenue would be in order to run specific trials. And again, you don't ever sign up for a trial until you are 100% ready. And we are a pay for success. So we are not, we're basically a SaaS kind of a company, but we are pay for success. So you jump in, you sign up, you find a trial, you follow Selena's recommendation to get activated. If you pick up a trial, we just take a percentage, a success fee off of that. Selena's available to walk you through and be your co-pilot throughout that trial. So, what is your first visit workflow? Do you need to do a echocardiogram on week 12? All with concomitant medication. She's able to really be protocol aware and guide your coordinators or nurses through the process. Again, reducing 7 to 10 hours a week of effort and work, and again, removing that friction, keeping you 100% in the loop. You make all the decisions and give you more time with your patients.
Amazing. That's great. Well, I love the free trial and the pay for success. So appreciate all of that, and hopefully folks will check out NexTrial. Thanks again, Stephen. Really appreciate you diving into like specifics around the agents that you've built, the tech stack, beneath them. There's a lot of people who want to get to the level of what you guys are. And so it means a lot that you're willing to share publicly this information. And we'll definitely keep in touch. And thanks again for coming on Built to Ship.
Awesome. No, thanks, Tyler. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Namaste.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye now.